Holbrook New Media.
This is Jeffrey K. Holbrook. Welcome to the audio feed from holbrooknewmedia.com. Today, Geoff and Jeffrey, the weekly catch-up. We hope you enjoy the audio version. If you want to see what we look like, I will embed the video for this episode at holbrooknewmedia.com.
So hello everyone, and welcome to the weekly catch-up. And we're back, and joining me as always, the co-host of the weekly catch-up, Jeffrey K. Holbrook.
Hey.
How have you been?
Hey, good to be here. Doing okay, but we had a really tragic thing happen this week. At work, I don't know, it started off on a downer, but at work, there was this young lady that I work with. She was about 25, and I worked with her. I work in the night, so I worked with her all night long. And then toward the morning, she told me that during the day, she was going to go on a ride with some friends on an ATV, which we call four-wheeling. It's in West Virginia, this is extremely popular because there's trails through the woods, and it's very mountainous and everything, and it's a challenge, these four-wheel motorcycle things, ATVs. So people go on big rides through the woods, and and there's trails specifically made for that, even by commercial companies. Well, she told me she was going to go and do this, and she's done it before, and I said, oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. Well, that evening, that Sunday evening, we found out that she had gone on this and that she had been killed in the process of the ride. And like you say, I mean, it's a very shocking thing. Like you say, we spent the whole night working together, me and several other people there. And I mean, and she was always this real cheerful person walking around, if everybody's being, kind of solemn and serious, she would just kind of walk in and break it up and everybody be laughing here in a second. That's just kind of joyful person she was. And they left the trail, and she was thrown from the vehicle, and her passenger who was on behind her was actually pinned under it and had a problem with her ankle. But this girl here was thrown, and they're not exactly sure. We're not sure what the injuries actually were, but they were fatal. And she died from the thing, and everybody's just in shock from it. And again, I hate to start on a downer here, but it's a very solemn thing for everybody around here. It's really, really shocking.
But the thing is, so it's you go through your life and you get down on little things, and then something that's really important like that just snaps you back into it, doesn't it? You start getting upset about menial little things, but then something tragic like that makes you thankful for what you do have. Oh,
it totally does, because you're sitting there, mind your own business, or you're saying, I cannot believe I got a flat tire, or it's just something, again, when you think about it, it's trivial. And then more of a downer, even more tragic, this young lady's aunt, who I've worked with at the same place for years, her husband died of cancer a couple years ago. And this niece was, again, the person who was constantly cheering her up and coming up with things for them to go and do. And, this lady's been in mourning now for a couple of years. And now the niece is gone. And this has happened over the last couple of years. I'm worried about the lady. I really am, because it's just another blow, to her life. And again, whatever problems you have seem pretty trivial right now, like you say.
And you just don't realize a lot of time what these people do in their life until they're gone, and then you see all the things that all the other people that do miss them. So that's why I think one thing I just do like about the American culture where you have your Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And it's a time where, and everybody does do that, thanks people just for little things and that. And it's just, we don't have that here, but I think it's a darn good thing. And I've been there and it's just really good to be there, just to thank people for just being there and being being your friend for the past year, and just things that you would never say normally. So,
I agree, because that's what holidays do, is bring you up to a particular point, make you concentrate on a particular thing. For me, the way I was raised, it was a specifically very religious Christian holiday for us. And it's, again, very Christian-y and very family oriented. But in the United States, it's a day off from work type of a thing, and it's set up. Some companies, it always happens on a Thursday. Some companies will give Thursday and Friday off, so you get a 4-day weekend out of it. But when it comes down to it, even people who are not necessarily Christian or religious at all still gather with their families. And, kind of, I guess if some of them have little tiffs with each other or whatever, then they put all that aside. They get together, they have a dinner together in a very old-fashioned, traditional family dinner way. And, it does. It makes you stop and think about all the great stuff that you do have. Yes, we all have our first world problems, but when it comes down to it, just being thankful for what you have, because we have so much, and it just gives you that opportunity to be thankful.
Yeah, I always find that whenever you're thinking about something, when you're down or whatever, there's always somebody else that's got much more bigger problems than you have, and just sort of get over it and just get on with life. So there's a lot of things to look forward to as well. So it keeps us all going.
Yeah, you don't actually really get old until you have absolutely nothing left to look forward to. And I'm finding, and you're going to spend all your time looking back then, but I can't imagine when I will have nothing to look forward to, because there's always something you want to do, or, people you want to see, or again, now that you're here and we have this set up, now even if you're an invalid, you don't have to, you can still be online, and you can still, have friends without being able to physically go out. You can be a complete quadriplegic and still have this world of friends. It was never available in previous generations. It's just great.
And me, I'm a typical one. There's some people who can keep friendship, pen pals, and have somebody like you as a pen pal, and write to them religiously each month and tell them what's going on. But I can't be bothered with that. I don't know why. I don't mind writing the letter, but I just think, oh no, that's a bit rubbish. But when you get on the line like we're doing now, just having a chat, and it's quite good to do that, and people just do a lot more of that. Like, if somebody had told me, I've never been an outgoing, meeting a lot of people person, but since all the internet and all the communities out there, I've come out quite a bit to people to meet different people, and I've met you, but also met Rick, who I do Tech Down Over with, and we met him through an Adobe Captivate session online. And then we met up at one of the conferences and struck up a really good friendship. So I've been over and visited him a few times. And people say that the internet's keeping people away from socializing with people. And I think that's a bit untrue, because those people who don't like to socialize probably do more socializing on here and get out and about and see more people than they would have without the computers. Before, all they did was just sit inside and do something else, but just not talk to anybody. But at least they're talking to people, they're communicating and keeping some sort of skills up in that. But I think you can get obsessive with it, like some people do, and just keep on and on. But I mean, you've just got to have it in the right right amount of detail for it. But
Oh, exactly. Whenever I go to work, everyone around me, again, I told you, almost everyone I work with is my daughter's age. So they're half my age. So whenever it comes down to it, I don't even take my phone out on the workroom floor with me. It stays in my locker. Then I check it when I go back in there. If there's an emergency call, I never get one. So one time my wife called me and said, the furnace is making this big noise, And I mean, so they will definitely, if she has a call, then it's an emergency. They will come and get me if it's an emergency just within the 2 hours between breaks. And one day she called and said, the furnace is, making this big noise. And I said, well, what's it sound like? She held it up and it was going wham, 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 wham. And I said, okay, you see these two breakers on the front of it? Pull them both. It's going to be hard. Pull them both down now. And so, one turns off the heating mechanism, and the other one turns off the fan cage in there that was broken and whacking around the inside of the housing of the furnace. And so it was an older furnace, and so, we had it replaced and everything, but it was an emergency. And so they went ahead and come and got me. But I don't really want to stay constantly connected. And again, that's probably my older generation thing. I check every so often. I'll bring out my phone and I will check Facebook and couple things like that whenever I'm on break or lunch. But as far as like being my phone tweetling every few seconds and needing to, feels this urgency to where I have to do that, I'm around and I will check a few times a day, but I've got things to do and I do actually, I'm kind of a thinker. So I spend a lot of time thinking and don't want that constant interruption in my thoughts whenever the phone goes off,
That's the same thing I do. I tend to leave the phone and maybe check it at lunchtime.
Mm-hmm.
And quite often throughout the day, people say, I tried to phone. I said, well, during the day, I'm at work.
Mm-hmm.
Work's got my full attention.
Mm-hmm.
If it's desperate, phone me on the landline. Don't phone me on my mobile, because I just ignore that. Because if you had a look at your mobile every time it made a bit of a noise, you'd be forever looking at it, because it's always dinging for messages, or then somebody's texting you, but it's a spam text. There's always something going on, isn't there? So never can be never quiet.
No, like you say, the people I work with are every few seconds are checking their phone and doing something really, really quickly. You see them kind of walk around the corner, do something real quick, and then move on. And so I'm serious. I would say 10 times an hour. Yeah, at least. All my coworkers are doing that. And it seemed little. Years and years and years ago, I worked for this man, and this was back in the 80s. And he said that he would never hire a man that smoked a pipe.
Oh.
And I said, why? Of course I never smoked, but he said, I said, why? He said, because their hands are always occupied with the pipe, relighting it, holding it, whatever, and it keeps their hands occupied, and they need their hands free to work. I'm thinking, okay. Of course, I had never been a boss, and so I was like, okay, I guess that could be a bit of a production problem, a bit of a productivity problem. But now the phones actually are just as intrusive and are just as, much of an interruption of the regular workflow of a workplace as what a pipe must have been back then.
Well, the same as cigarettes, they're always on about cigarettes and people going for cigarette breaks, but that's far less of a problem than people checking the phones every 5 minutes. But people don't seem to understand that it's only a couple of minutes, but to do that couple of minutes throughout the day, it can become an hour. And it's an extra hour that they've lost out of the day, that you've lost productivity out of them. So,
well, we work in a large industrial plant, and to walk, you can't smoke inside the building at all in a U.S. government building. You have to walk, how many yards to get through to one of the exits in order to smoke? Could be 50 yards that you have to walk to smoke and then come back after you smoke. So you're walking the length of a football field to go get a smoke, plus the time you're out there, and then you come back. And so it's the plant's big enough to where they actually give you extra minutes to walk to break and back, because of how big the plant is. So yeah, it's an issue, I think, about the productivity. And again, nobody, I don't think, is as productive as what they could be if they just, really ground their nose to it. But I see things that are, again, pretty blatant non-productive, and it's just kind of surprising sometimes the way people look at things like that, as opposed to maybe an older generation person would look at it.
Yeah, but it's the way that the way of the land at the moment. Everybody does it, so nobody says anything about it. So
right. Well, there's actually policy about it where I work at, but it's never enforced because the bosses are doing it too.
Yeah, well, but I try. As I said, the only time when I have my phone, I've got the office phone and I've got a work phone as well, but I'll redirect that to the office line. So if it is a work call, because it usually always will be, but I only have the phone on when I'm sort of out and about and not at the normal desk. So anyway, I've been out and about again last week. I wasn't available. I went to work had to spend a couple of days in Queensland for work, which is quite nice. But being on the plane again, I caught another cold. So I got a bit of a cold again, getting over that one. They've been pretty bad the other day, but it came on very quick and it's going away again. So I'm sounding a bit throaty at the moment. So it's out breaking up. But the thing was, it was down here last Wednesday. I went there last Wednesday morning, and in Melbourne it was 11 degrees and pouring down with rain.
Oh wow! Okay.
And then in that's Celsius. So
that's what I was thinking.
And then in Queensland, it was the same thing, pouring down with rain, but it was 18 degrees.
Oh.
So it was quite a lot warmer. And then it was 25 degrees the day after, on the Thursday, when I came back to Melbourne, when it was 12. I think sometimes it gets a bit hard, and I think just going up and down in that different climates makes, especially when it's all of a sudden and you're not staying there for too long, just there a day and a bit. But I did take my iPhone out and did a bit of a time-lapse video. I'll have it ready for next week, hopefully.
Cool.
And I'll play it on the show, and you won't be able to see it on the show as well. So you'll have to watch to see it.
That'll be fun. I'll be able to see it on the stream.
Yeah. Oh well, that's right. You should be able to do that as well.
I'll only be about 30 seconds delayed or so.
I was tossing up, shall I take my camera? Shall I not? Shall I take, because I just took a little rucksack with an overnight thing so I could check into the plane fairly quickly. But I'll just put the phone on the windowsill of the hotel and just hit the time-lapse button and just did a quick 25-second time-lapse, which took about 3 hours, I think it was in time. So I'll have to show you that. That looks pretty good. But I've been trying to get back into doing a bit more filming. So we've got a guest on Tech Down Over this week. I don't know if you see a YouTube channel called Andy X.
NDX?
Andy X.
Andy X. No, I have not seen that channel.
It's a guy from Norway, in Oslo in Norway, and him and his friends and they just do such a fantastic job movie making. We've got him on the show, so I've got him by myself, so that's really good this week because I was really interested to have a chat with him because they do reviews on products and all sorts of things like that. But a lot of channels, you just see them, they just do an unboxing and talk about the products. But it's like a bit of, each one of their reviews is like a movie. There's always some hidden story behind it's not just a review, and they do quite a serious review, but there's always a little story behind what they do with it when they're shooting with the camera or whatever. So they do, and I was having a look at some of their old stuff, and they did an iPad review, and this was a bit of a silly one altogether, and they picked up a 27-inch iMac and pretended it was the new iPad.
Oh.
but they did all
fun.
When people saw it, you could see it just looked like an iPad, and all the things are superimposed on the top of it, and it was just so funny, all the things that they did with it. But that was back in 2011, so they've come a long way. So it'll be quite interesting to chat with him. I'm just hoping all this stream works for me because Rick unfortunately has got other appointments and he can't make it. So I'm doing the show, but I don't mind doing that, but I'm just hoping it holds up the stream. So what I'm thinking of doing there, I'm thinking of not streaming it, and I'll just record it.
Oh, okay.
I thought that might be the better way. So at least I've got the thing, and because it'll be early in the morning, so at least then I can put it on YouTube and stream it on YouTube, because there's no interaction with the public anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
That's
and
true.
You'll probably see on your chat, there's probably thousands of people in there as well, isn't there, watching now?
Oh yeah, and every one of them, I'm having a hard time keeping up with it.
every one of them.
Yes. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Right now it says Holbrook New Media greetings. Is what it says right now.
and with that, I've been looking at other things, and I thought, looking at some of the things they do, and I thought I've got to get out there and start doing something with the equipment and the filming.
Mhm.
But I think he's very lucky. He's got a load of friends that help him around with different things. But I also thought, like you were saying before, just with the age, with the getting older and the younger ones, like now, when you go around filming with about, you're 50, 54, I am, filming that, you look stranger. Whereas if a 25-year-old goes there, they're only just filming. But you just look like, I don't know why, I feel a bit more conscious out there with a camera by myself than if it were, but that's by yourself, but it doesn't look so bad if you had a couple of people doing it as well. So, but also I've got a lovely Canovo slider that 120 centimeter one, and I just bought it and then had some sort of troubles, and I never got round to using it much. But I also got the electronic pan, tilt, and zoom head. So it does everything, and I've really not. So I thought, right, I've got to get it back out, set it back up again, because I just put it away before, and then I had it set up once before, and I used it for tech down over, and all I'd used it for was I had this camera on it, and so I could sit there, and it made me look like I was going up and down sideways because I could just move the camera like that. People said, "What are you doing?" I said, and then zooming in and out. It was very good because I don't know if you didn't see. I did a little video of me at Brisbane Airport, and then it says, "Oh, here they are lifting me up to the plane." And I just that was just a camera. I was just moving the camera around. I said, "Oh, they've got me into place." But I've just got that out again because the great thing with that, it has what was it? What does it have on it? It has the pan, tilt, and zoom head, but it also has the time-lapse facility, so you can connect it up to the Canon camera, and it will actually say control a camera. So it will say take a shot, pause a second, move the slider however many centimeters. If you said 1 millimeter or 1 millimeter, then it said, okay, now take another picture. Then it takes one, stop, pause, move, and do that. But you can pan, tilt, and zoom the head all the time with those things. So,
goodness.
But I've still got to figure out how to do that. The time-lapse one's not too bad, but whether you've got pan, tilt, and zoom, you've got to tell it the angle and how much you want to do it after each photo, or if you do, or how often do you want to do it. So I'm still trying to figure that one out. I've nutted down the live movement for the live video, but the time-lapse one is the most important thing. And like anything with time-lapse, I'd enjoy doing them, but the thing is, you've got to have days to waste sometimes because you've got to have the patience and that just to set up a time lapse, sit there for 6 to 8 hours, and then figure out it's wrong and not get so upset about it. That's
I mean, it's to me something like that is something that you want to do it and you're interested in it and you're experimenting. Well, that didn't work. I wonder why. Okay, this is why that didn't work. Now I know what to do. Now let's start again. And after you've been messing with it for X number of months, you'll be good at it. And you'll might have to make those mistakes, and then all of a sudden you know exactly what to do.
I don't mind making the mistakes. It's just sometimes with your camera gear sat out somewhere for 6 to 8 hours, you think, well, having it there just sat in that place without somebody telling you to move on or something like that. It's a pick place where it doesn't matter whether you're doing that. But that's the sort of thing I've got to get in there and just start doing, because everybody else, it doesn't matter. As we've said before, we do it for ourselves. If nobody else likes it, well, so what? Some people get money off YouTube, but they do 800,000 views or something. And they might get a few pennies out of that, and they don't make a huge living. And even the top ones might make $800 a month, which for the amount of time they do, because these people that don't just put the odd YouTube on there and get a lot of views, they spend a damn lot of time putting these videos together. They're not easy, but I really appreciate these people who just take the time and have you ever looked at Vimeo? The Vimeo instead of YouTube?
I have never been over there. I know my niece and nephew that have their recording studio. They do a lot of video work, and they put some things on Vimeo from time to time, and I've watched certain videos they've had on there when there was a link to it, but I have never gone to Vimeo.
Well, I'll send you a link of a couple of, these short videos that people are doing on there, and they're just fantastic. And I showed one to Rick, and Rick said, "Well, when's this movie out?" I said, "It's not a movie. That's it. That's just a short." And they said, "Really?" And I said, "This is just a fella and his girlfriend put this together with just normal equipment, and that they said they spent a lot of time on it, but it's said it's amazing what people can do." And there's this one that somebody did. It's got Urban Sprawl, I think it was called, and it's just got this guy riding his skateboard round, going down the on ramps in Los Angeles and off the on ramps in Los Angeles, down all the streets, but the place is deserted. And I've just been trying to figure out how does he do it, because all the trees behind are all flowing around, but there's no cars. So somebody said it's got to do with the exposure level. If you do it right, when you do the exposure, it makes it look like there's nobody there.
Yes.
You can get the right shot. You can just do that. And then if you cut out the main patch where all the vehicles are and leave the live footage, mask it out, it looks like it's all empty. But I thought, this is just an amateur person doing it, and it just fascinates me just looking at some of these short movies. And there was another one on there. This fella just went into a shop in Hollywood Boulevard, and just this old, creepy, broken down shop. Thought, it's like a bit of a junk shop, it looked like, with a bit of memorabilia. And he interviewed the woman in there, but it was so interesting because it turns out the woman, knew all the famous people because she was about 85, but she was been there all that time in Hollywood, and knew all the famous people and was part of the scene back then. But everybody had sort of forgotten about her. But it was just amazing how you can just get that one thing. And there's another one where I don't know if you've seen it, but he does it even on YouTube. But Philip Bloom, he had a video called "My Dad." And he just interviewed his father, and it was just a 20-minute interview, but it's such a gripping thing, and like he wasn't saying anything earth-shattering, but just the way he did it, and it just makes you think all these little things, like interviewing your family or doing something like that. It's something there for later on. It doesn't matter if nobody sees it or what they do, but they're only there for a short time, like you said with that person at work. You never know when your time's up. So it said, just do those things. Get people around that film them, ask them questions. They don't have to be old to do it either. It just said, and that's probably more memorable than the odd photo here and there that people do have. So, but they're the sort of thing. But then you've got to get people comfortable into the fact where you're going to ask them questions. And it's a fellow called Philip Hodges, and he does a lot with Lumberjack, which managing metadata for Final Cut Pro, and he's based in Hollywood, but he's an Australian, and it comes from Tasmania. But one of the things he was saying about interviewing, he had a list of questions, so just 10 questions to ask the people, always the same ones. And so what's the first thing you can remember? And I thought, that's an interesting sort of question, isn't it? Sort of, you just don't know, and just get them talking like that. So quite interesting.
Back in the 90s, I ended up putting a VHS camera on my grandmother, and she was in her 90s, her early 90s at this point. And I just interviewed her and started asking her questions. How did you and Grandpa meet? I set it up, and of course her daughter, my aunt, was there, to prompt her on a couple of things. But she, how did they meet? What was the name of the minister that married them? I understood that she was raised by her grandparents. What was the story behind that? And all of this stuff. And I just did an hour-long interview, just asking questions and her answering on camera. And, of course, she's been gone now for years, and I made copies of that and passed it around all to the family. And I've had several of them come up and saying it's hard for them to watch because they miss her so bad. but they are just, it's such a treasure to have. And what happens is young people don't think of it until it's a little late, usually.
Mm.
And to actually have something like that you've actually got recorded is just great. One of the things I've considered doing now that I've got this set up and I'm actually recording the audio from our Skype sessions is with my parents down in Florida, going ahead and calling them and recording the audio from calls with them. I might need to send them a microphone or something like that to get it set up with to make the audio good. But I really plan on doing that. Like I say, my dad's 81. My mother, she's 76. And so now I think would be a good time to do that because my mom's computer savvy enough to get it done. And, we'll work it out. And like you say, I may have to send her, I'll probably send her one of these microphones. And then it would just be good audio coming from both directions. And then we could, I could just record it here, because all I got to do is push the button and it's recordable.
Yeah. And can you record, did she do video as well with it or not?
No, it's just an audio recorder. I'm not recording any of the video. That would be, I would need something similar to what you have to record the video. I'm just recording the audio stream coming in. I'm directly recording my audio from here. It's a local recording. And then yours is coming through the Skype and going into it on a separate track. So I have 2 tracks, one for me, one for you. And it's 2 separate things and they're already synced up and everything. And all I have to do, if I wanted to do something with it, all I'd have to do is just put it into Audacity and chop it the way I wanted to. And I've got a full thing. I would probably have to raise your volume a little bit because being local, mine's a little louder than yours is. But I would just have to amplify yours slightly. And again, it's a separate track, so I can even them out exactly. And then I can combine the 2 and have a single track when I'm ready to.
Yeah, well, that's good, but it's all to do with memories, and a lot of people take pictures and take videos of things that might do good, and then it's, oh no, that's rubbish, and they delete it and throw it away. I'm a bit of a hoarder because if it's a decent sort of a picture, and even if it doesn't make any sense, I'll keep it. Or a bit of footage, because you never know when you might need that bit of footage. You might need a cruddy bit of footage that you've shot before. As long as you can see it, and the only things I throw away are things where you've got the lens shutter on and it's just black, or you just can't make anything out of it, because some of the pictures I've taken that's been so horrible and black, sometimes you put them into Lightroom, and you can regain them quite a bit by just tweaking a few things when you're shooting RAW anyway. So there's a lot of things you can recover from, but that's why I think this day and age storage is quite important for a lot of things. Like I've got down here is a 15 terabyte,
Nice.
five disc array.
Oh.
Is that what they call it? Yes, and there's so Drobo, and what you can do with that is, as the ones get cheaper, so if the 6 terabyte drives get cheaper, I'll take one of the 3 terabytes out and put a 6 in, and it will rebuild. It might take 24 hours before it fixes itself up, but then you can take the next one out and you can replace them. So eventually then you've got the 6 terabytes.
Wow.
And it sort of spreads it across there. So if one, you can have, depends on how you set it up, you can have one disk drive die, put a new one in, it will recover. And if have it so 2 can die, but then you cut down your storage again. Because if you have it just 1, you probably I've got say about 15, but it won't store 15. It'll only record 12 because some of that is there for the redundancy, for the backup type things, to stop it from crashing or whatever. So, but even then, up to that stage, if I lose everything, I'll lose everything. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it, because if I back up the backup of the backup, and I've just got to that stage, and then I'll probably, I've got all that, but a lot of the times I don't know where it is, or I've forgotten I filmed that anyway. But that's the thing. You've just got to sign in and make sure you know what you've got.
About the recording and stuff like that, sometimes you actually get things that you don't realize. The reason why you shouldn't delete a lot of things, you get things that you don't realize you're going to want later. And part of, it's not of a value now, but then all of a sudden an event happens, such as, like you say, my friend dying. We bought our first VHS video camera in 1990, and it was one of those up on your shoulder jobs. And we
Mhm.
bought it because it was 2 weeks. Our daughter was going to be born. And also, my father-in-law was ailing, and we didn't know how much longer he would last. And so, we wanted to get a lot of video footage of him. And so we were, videoing, the baby. We got video of her pregnant, and the last when you're walking her around the mall for the last couple of weeks, getting her all walked off and everything so she can have the baby, and then, videoing the baby and videoing, her father and video. And what's funny is her mother, of course, is in all these videos that we were doing with her father, and there's
Mhm.
18 years between those two. But then her mother got cancer and died before he did.
Oh.
And so we had video of her mother because we were trying to video her dad so much.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so, you really never know. I had another friend that her mother would not, and father would not really go and have any type of a family portrait. She wanted one so bad, and they were older, and they just wouldn't go. So I went to church with the lady, and she made arrangements with me, and I showed up over at their house on Easter Sunday.
Oh.
And so I was there when they got home, and they were in their Easter clothes and dressed up, and we did a portrait session right there. It was basically a captive type of a thing. We did some of them in the living room beside of a big picture window, and several of them outside. And of course, her daughters were there, and we just did all the family portrait stuff like that. And about a year later, it turned out that her mother passed away about 6 months after that, not unexpectedly.
Yep.
And so she came to me, and she said, "I am so grateful that you did that for us, and we were able to get that done." It was kind of a sneak attack, but we had good, solid portraits of the family, everyone together, and of her mother and everything. And suddenly her mother was gone unexpectedly. And like you say, record everything you possibly can, because you don't know what you're going to lose. The
Oh,
people
that's
and the images and like you say, the video and stuff.
and sometimes people just get too hung up on the right setting, the right composure of the pictures.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's important to get the great pictures, and that, but don't stop you from pressing that button because you can't get one, because that might be all you've got. And
Mhm.
sometimes, like you see on the news, and some of the top pictures that we've seen of all times are not in focus.
Mhm.
They're very noisy, but the scene the picture that they tell, is worth 1,000 words. So.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not always the quality of the picture that makes a difference as well. So,
I agree. Like you say, never don't push the shutter because it's not perfect. Perfection can really ruin what really needs to be done sometimes.
and also we're lucky these days with digital; it doesn't cost you anything.
Mhm.
I always remember when my father and the whole family would used to say, when Dad used to say, "I'm getting the camera out," we'd go, "Oh no." He says, "Oh, will he ever press that button?" Oh, hasn't got that set right. This was in the film days, and then I don't know. I said the other week, but it was a few months ago. I was just cleaning out the cupboard, and I came across 4 or 5 packs of Super 8 film, not filmed on yet.
Oh, wow.
It's brand new in the box, Agfa.
Yeah,
And it was
Agfa. I used to use Agfa film a lot.
because when Dad got the 8mm camera, the proper film camera, well, it was 3 minutes, wasn't it? The 8mm cameras.
Little
That's all
round
you
thing
get.
about that, yeah.
And he would never say, "Oh, that's not worth filming. That's not." So he only filmed about 10 minutes worth of film ever,
Mhm.
but they just had these packs of film from about 45 years ago, and they're still out. They're so old, the ones, because you used to buy them, and that's why they were so expensive, because the processing was included in the price.
Mhm.
So you just send it off to Agfa, and they'd send it back as a proper film. But it's just quite amazing. Like they said, now you've got your smartphone, and the quality on that, it's just quite amazing. That's like, science fiction type quality of back when you looked at these 8mm things, which is clunky, and a lot of them at first they didn't have sound,
Right.
like just click and just totally dead, void of sound and that. But it's quite amazing the how much will come along now, and so easy to do. As I said, nearly everybody's got well, very few people that haven't got a phone. And like I said, I was traveling last week. It was quite amazed me. I thought you wouldn't want to be anybody other than Apple and Samsung these days in the phone business, because I was looking at everybody's phone. I couldn't see anything else other than an Apple or a Samsung phone.
Well, a friend of mine at work just got a Windows phone, which I'd heard of, but I know they're a very, very small part of the market. But he likes it. He likes it really well. He thinks it's a great thing. All this talk, you've really, okay, I am on holiday for the next couple of weeks. And now you've got me wanting to get my camera out and actually do some new photography over the next couple of weeks. We're going to be just doing different things, different days, and we are going to take some short trips. But I think I'm just going to keep my camera with me and maybe take some images here and there. If I'll expect I'll be busy. One of the things I'm going to do this evening, I am going to co-host, be a guest co-host on the Cinema Toast Crunch podcast.
Oh.
And I'm going to bring a movie with me, and we're going to record a podcast episode of the show. And what happens is the guy who's the expert, Garvis Reed, he is such an expert. He was even working in a theater whenever he was running the camera and all this stuff. And he's a total movie buff, and he knows everything about movies. And so he is, we'll be talking about the latest releases and stuff that do that. And then we actually turn off the recorder and watch a specific movie, and then turn it back on and make our comments about the movie and about our impressions, our immediate impressions of this movie. And so I am taking the movie that we're going to be seeing. He's never seen it. And so it's going to be interesting. I get to be the guest co-host on that show. So that's going to be a whole lot of fun.
Oh, that'd be good. The good sort of fun. So you say you don't do it live. Like you said, you record beforehand, stop the recording and watch the film, and then start the recording again.
And then talking about what they do, they put the movie trailer, the original movie trailer audio. Whenever you turn off, then they just insert the movie trailer audio about the movie, and then when you come back, you turn the recorder on and you tell your immediate impressions where you just spent the last couple of hours watching the movie. And so, it'll be about a 3 or 4 hour thing, but, I've known this guy for a long time. I've been a big fan of the podcast, forever. And so they're up to somewhere around episode 50 something, right?
Yeah.
This may be episode 50 actually. And, so we're going to get in there and I get to pick the movie. And, so, it's going to be a lot of fun. But like you say, being off and not having to work or worry about, working over the next couple of weeks, it's going to be really nice. And like you say, I may be able to take some pictures, but that's really got me now wanting to get my camera and get out there and do something.
But it still just does amaze me all the content that's out there, and how many good things you just don't realize it until somebody points you in that direction, because there's so much good stuff out there, but you just will never find it unless somebody says, have a look at this. And then sometimes you watch that, and then you might get a few weeks where you don't and you forget, and then it goes by the wayside. Then all of a sudden you remember again and go back and look at that. So I'm just amazed at the amount of how much quality, and there's quality out there as well.
That's right.
People might say we're a load of rubbish, but that's fine. But other than us, there's other people that do quite valuable shows that I watch. Like I watch the Tony and Chelsea Northrup every week with their camera. And they do a lot of camera reviews and that, but it's not like a cheap podcast thing anymore for them. It's just you watch that like you would watch an episode of on the TV. You tune in. It's more casual, but that's what you like. You like them fluffing some lines every now and then, or saying the wrong thing, or something not working out. You just know it's live, and it's just the two of them talking about things, and they interact with the audience a lot better. They have somebody that manages the chat. But I mean, it's just quite entertaining. And now with these smart TVs, quite a lot of the time, I've said before, I go downstairs and put on the 60-inch or 63-inch TV, whatever it is, on the LG, and put it on YouTube. And the quality that you get out of these, it's just fantastic. You can watch that and the sound quality.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought you don't have to be, you're not sat in front of your computer watching it anymore. I tend to watch that instead of shows on the TV these days. So when people say, what have you watched all week? I said, well, no TV.
Well, the way we're set up, I mean, yeah, I can watch them right here. I have a 21-inch monitor, my bigger monitor here at the computer desk, but, because I'm definitely the desktop command center type of a guy. But when it comes down to it, if I'm, and I'll watch something specific on YouTube that might be about a piece of equipment that I'm doing something, or I need to say something about it or make a link for a particular piece of equipment on a podcast episode, show notes or something. And then I'm looking for a link for that or a good review for it. And so I'll do that work here. But when it comes to watching YouTube or Roku, the little box that does all that stuff, you turn it on and you've got Netflix, Amazon Prime, YouTube, the top three. YouTube is just as easily selected as the other two. And if I'm wanting to watch, if I have short time, now, if I want to watch something, a couple hours and I'm going to watch a movie or I'm going to watch an episode of a particular show, my wife and I, we have about an hour together after I wake up, we eat dinner together, watch something on TV, and then I start getting ready for work. That's kind of a tradition we got there. And so we'll pick a series and watch this series, an episode of it each day before I go to work. Well, if I've got short time and I just sit down there and I've got, a few minutes, like when I get home in the morning, I've got it's like a bit of medicine to take. So I've got to eat something really quick. Mm-hmm. I'll just sit down, pop on YouTube and watch, little 10 or 15 minute video on something I'm interested in. There's this one guy that I'm subscribed to. He's up in Canada. And, he does some bushcraft type of stuff. Real nice, easygoing young man though, and him and his dad, they're out in the woods and they're building a cabin and they're doing this. And there's this, I just found this one thing and it said, easy way to get ice off your car windows. And it's a little 16-second video. And so, I'm thinking, well, what's that? It's on this guy's stream. So, I'm subscribed to him. So I turn it on. And he's inside the car, and you can see the ice has just got everything blurred. It's just ice. And he pushes the button to bring the window down, and the window comes down and just leaves this sheet of ice there. And you hear him snicker a little bit, and all of a sudden you see him put his fist through it and go, rah! And then that's the end of the video. I laughed about that. It was just funny because, the guy's so calm and, well-spoken and everything like that. And the window is just 16 seconds. The window comes down and there's that ice. And like you say, he snickers because it's just a solid sheet of ice, just like the window. But you see the window go down and then he just goes, just busts through it with his fist and then the video goes off.
It's so waiting for an explanation of how you do it.
Yeah. It's an easy way to get ice off your window.
You can show me how you put a cloth over this and sprinkle it with lukewarm water or something. How's he going to do it? And that's how he did it.
That's what I was expecting. But the way I found the guy's channel, I am interested in, one of the funny things I'm interested in is edible plants that are just here in the wild. And he did a series on his YouTube channel on edible plants. And it's a very nicely, again, he's really good at teaching and he's very articulate at what he says, but it's not preachy or, but it's still just this regular guy and he's talking about it. And he says, you need to be careful when you mess with these walnuts, make sure you wear gloves or you're going to have your hands stained forever, things like that. And he tells you what's edible and what to be careful of and things like that. But he just, instead of saying, hey, you can eat this plant, hey, look at this, you need it. No, he took each plant all by itself, told about what it tastes like, what it might be good for either medicinally or nutritionally. And so just this series about them. And I just love the guy's channel. And so, I go and watch things like like that. And, he's got all the videos where they're building their cabin and where they're doing some other things out in the woods. And they had this big encounter with some coyotes. All of a sudden it showed up and surrounded them at one point, and they're videoing those. And, him and his dad are out there, and, I enjoy it. And so I go check these people we're subscribed to every now and then. And I've got a few minutes. I'm sitting down 10 or 15 minutes. YouTube is perfect for that because most of the videos are rather short. So it's not like you only got to watch 1/4 of a episode of Star Trek or something. You actually can watch an entire video, and if you've only got 10 or 15 minutes, YouTube is perfect for that.
The only thing I hate with the YouTube is you watch that little 10-minute video and the suggestions it comes up with afterwards. Oh, that looks so interesting. And if you have got time on your hands, you end up watching about 2 hours worth because and then that one links to something else. Oh,
right.
Or they've got 3 or 4 windows open because you don't want to lose the search from the previous one.
Right.
So you just it in another window because that's the fear. You think if I come back to it, it might be gone the next time.
Well, in self-defense, what I do, if I only have that 15 minutes and I've just watched a 10-minute video, if you really want to make sure it's there, go select it and subscribe to that channel.
Oh, okay.
And then you can come back and kick it off anytime you want to.
Mm.
And then it'll be there when you get back. And then if you don't like the channel, you can watch that video, find out what it's about whenever you come back. And then you can, that's the way I always did podcasting too. If there's a podcast I'm curious about, I just subscribe to it. And then I download 4 or 5 episodes of it. And then I start at episode 5 back and just start listening. I don't like this one. I'll kick it out. But I subscribe right there, get 4 or 5 episodes, and then test it, And there's a lot I unsubscribe to, because it's not really for me. But I initially subscribed just to make sure it's there and available when I want it.
I went through a lot of mine on the YouTube and unsubscribed. Not that I didn't like them, but I want to bring it down to a list of ones that I'll actually watch.
Sure.
Because there's so much in there you just don't want, because some of them you think, I haven't watched that for ages. And I'll dump that one and I'll watch something else. But there's, like, I think, what did Google say there was when they did about their photos, and they said, well, if you were to sit with your phone and flip through all the photos I had in Google, it would take you 427 years or something like that.
Yeah, I got that. No problem.
just doing that. That's how many pictures, and you think, goodness, that's just photos. And I thought that's the tip of the iceberg. What amazes me, I just think, what's their storage capacity at YouTube? Where's this? It must be like they must store it on the moon, and the whole moon's a big database of storage. But it must have huge data centers somewhere, mustn't they?
Well, I would say they are at least 2 or 3 notches above terabyte. I'm not sure what the next notches are, but we're in terabytes, which is pretty fancy, But for them, it is however many notches above that. Whatever the bytes are.
We're just talking about petabytes now, aren't we, for the consumer market now? So that's
really?
The next
I hadn't heard that yet.
Petabytes. I don't know what the next one up from that one. So I don't know what a petabyte's 1,000 terabytes.
Would it be petabyte? Would it be 5? Because
petabyte.
I don't know.
I don't know what but I'm sure the next stage is 1,000 terabytes.
24. You got to be 1,024 of each. Like one byte, was like 8 bits, but then you had 1K was 1,024 bytes. 1,024K was a megabyte, and then, 1,000, is, anyway, it just keeps 1,024 of each whenever it goes up. By the time you get to 1,024 terabytes, that's getting pretty big,
Yeah. But the thing is, it gets pretty big, and it's not that long ago where people said 20 megabytes. What would you want 20 megabytes for? Yeah. And I mean, that's not long ago, is it?
My first hard drive, which I bought probably in, I would say, 88 or 87, they had just changed the encoding. They had that venerable Seagate 20 megabyte hard drive that everybody was getting. It's 5 1/4 inch. Pretty good size, and it was 20 megabytes. Well, they took the same drive, and instead of formatting it MFM, they formatted it RLL, which was a new encoding, and they got 30 megabytes out of the same drive. That's the one I bought. And I was so thrilled with that. Now, everything was DOS. Everything was text-based at the time. It wasn't graphic environment at all. It was just DOS. And so 30 megabytes. Oh, I paid $282 American for it at that point. And, that was it was only $10 more than the 20, megabyte drive. So it was just amazing deal. And so, I mean, I had so much space. I ran a computer bulletin board system on 20 of it, and then I kept the other 10 megabytes for myself, for, my own use and everything like that. And that was just the most amazing drive. I just loved that drive. It was just funny and how big that was and how amazing it was. And now, we have a single file that would come close to filling the whole thing up. I mean, no, actually, let's see. I had a 60 megabyte file the other day for a podcast, an hour and something audio podcast. You're talking 60 megabytes. So it's just kind of like, okay, megabyte a minute.
And that's the thing that's opened it up, I think, is not so much the technology behind filming and video. It's just the storage. Because, like, I remember when my time at Sony, they brought out the Mavica camera,
yes,
which was the first digital camera which had a 1.44 megabyte floppy disk.
I still have one.
You do still have the Mavica?
Yes, I have a collection of my older cameras and stuff. Got a couple of them sitting back here, but I still have a Mavica stored away down the basement.
I can just imagine, like, you couldn't even get one picture on that now with these cheap cameras. At a 10 megabyte camera, you'd have a box of discs for one photo. And just but you used to have, this one's got large file sizes, it's got a 65K or something. That was a huge file size, but you used to get half a dozen top quality pictures on them. But then they brought it out into a disc version with a little disc in the Mavica, which did that. But that was a precursor, like for the digital. But once the memory started getting cheaper, that really opened it up. I remember when they introduced like the memory stick, and they had I think it was a gigabyte. Was it No, it was 100 megabytes or something, or gigabytes. And when I think it was something ridiculous, like it would have cost $80,000 to sell, and thought that wouldn't bring it out because they said the technology was there, but nobody'd pay for it. But then just imagine now, 1 gigabyte, you can't sell that. They're giving them like these 8 gigabyte sticks. Will give them away, aren't they? There's just.
I have a couple of 128s, and I know they're bigger than that now. But I have a couple of. I keep one of them plugged in down here. But 128 gigabyte sticks, and then, like you say, for $3 you can get a 4 or an 8. I mean, it's just nothing anymore. And I have a tendency to keep 1 or 2 of those small ones around just to transfer files to friends because, people I'm helping with their podcasting or, that type of thing will do things like that. And one of the things that was surprised me that I did a voiceover for my friend who's doing the Christian ministry podcast. And now it's to the point to where now they'll let you transfer files. If it's just a short voiceover, I can transfer the file with an email. As well. Just like, oh, hey, this and this and this, and I was saying this, and we're doing the voiceover. Okay, great. Edit. Okay, attach to an email. There you go, buddy. It's like, that is so nice. I'll tell you what, I think we're just about down to the end of this thing.
I was just saying, we'll just flick to the end, my end shot, and I said that is, and we forgot to say we were on show number 21.
Did.
On my end shot was put on the next show would be show 22, of course. So I do that. I always forget anyway, so I thought if I put the correct one on the beginning of the show and the next one on the end of the show, I'll just look at that next week and put that at the beginning and switch them around. So, so hopefully this has worked out.
I think it has. I mean, from what I can tell, I'm looking at the screen, and I mean, I could turn up the audio, but I'm looking at the screen, and I'm talking, then I stop, and you're talking. I mean, the timing appears to be really, really well.
Oh, good. Anyway, so thank you everybody for watching, and we'll hopefully catch you next week. Okay, bye for now.
Thank you so much for listening. Links for a free subscription, feedback, and everything else we do is at holbrooknewmedia.com. You can find all things Geoff Blanchard at jeffblanchard.com.